Shelby County sun goes down, Mr. Woodrow wipes his brow. Crops are dying in the field, only Jesus can save them now. Banker man came calling, said, hey, we're sorry, Joe. 5 generations have owned this land, but they don't own anymore. Try as you might, some dreams still die, and wishing don't make it so. Ain't nothing gonna grow around here till the rain falls. Till the rain falls on the scarecrow.
Do you know the story on old time rock and roll? I can't tell you the names of the riders, but they were all down in Muscle Shoals. And one of the riders had a problem with abuse, and he was let go by Rick Hall in Fame Music. And Barry Beckett found out that he didn't have a writing deal anymore, so Barry Beckett went to him and said, look, I'll give you a writing deal, but I'm not going to give you any money until you got to turn in the songs and I'll give you a check. So this guy lived in Memphis, and he couldn't drive because he didn't have a driver's license. So he told his friend of his, look, if you'll drive me to Muscle Shoals, whatever we write, I'll give you a piece of my publishing on it. And that weekend they wrote Old Time Rock and Roll.
That's great. So what's the name of the book? Snowball's Chance? Is that the one you're going to write?
Yeah, Snowball's Chance. And the other one is called Song Angels. Song Angels is about songs that just happened, that weren't supposed to get there, that just miraculously happened. Alan Shanlin was standing in line at a theater in Austin, Texas, and he was quoting lyrics to a woman, or to a guy, a friend of his, and Alan wasn't a songwriter, he just was dabbling in it, but he had a passion for it. And this woman said, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, a song. Oh, you're a songwriter. Well, not really. She said, well, my husband's in the music business. It sounded like a really good idea for a song, so she introduced him to her husband, who was Johnny Gimbel. And Johnny Gimbel and them were friends with Martha Sharp at Warner Brothers, and Barry Beckett and Martha Sharp flew to Austin, Texas, just because this woman told them about the lyrics that this guy had written. And the lyrics were, he wore a starch white shirt, but at the neck, his teeth were all gone, but what the heck, I thought he walked on water. 3 of these examples are Alan, because Alan and Mike Reed were working on a bluegrass song for like 5 or 6 writing sessions and couldn't finish it, just wasn't getting anywhere, and it was bluegrass. And Alan went over to write with Mike one day, and Mike was sitting at the piano playing this incredible piece of music. And Alan said, whatever you do, don't put any words to that music, it's too beautiful. And Mike said, well, I was thinking it might go, turn down the lights, turn down the lights. And they'd been writing a bluegrass song called I Can't Make You Love Me. But the Song Angels showed up and put that melody in Mike's head. And then Pat Helper pitched it to Bonnie Raitt. Why would she pitch it to Bonnie Raitt? Why wouldn't she pitch it to Reba? Why wouldn't she pitch it to Charlie McLean? Why wouldn't she pitch it to the Judds? Why wouldn't she pitch it to, I think Trisha was just taking off back then. But she didn't. She sent it to Bonnie Raitt. And Alan and I went to lunch, and he said, she just pitched it to Bonnie Raitt. And I said, good luck with that. You know.
So you're going to remember my jacket.
And then fast forward with Alan, 3 years ago, Alan had pitched a song through his publishing company to Blake Shelton. And Blake went to pick up his soon-to-be wife at the airport, and she was a mess. Couldn't find anything she wanted to record. And the Song Angels showed up. And Blake said, listen to these songs. And they heard The House That Built Me. Cadillac kind. Daddy Never Was. Same deal. They called me from Atlantic Records, said, do you have any Mama songs? Because Confederate Railroad had a big hit called Jesus and Mama Always Loved Me. I said, I don't have any Mama songs, I got a Daddy song. Al Cooley, the A&R guy who was calling me, his dad had been carjacked down in Miami. So Al was in this whole frame of mind about his dad. He said, bring it. So I got over there. Al loved it. The label loved it. The producer loved it. But the band was kind of cold on it. So the day they were supposed to record it, we went to the studio, me and my co-writer Dave Gibson. And he didn't really write much of it. I wrote most of the lyrics on the song. I wrote most of the song, actually. Dave was hardly even there when the song was written. Just kidding. Anyhow,
I love Dave.
yeah, I love Dave. And Danny Shirley, the lead singer, said, man, guys, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I just don't think this song works for us. Song Angel showed up, and Uncle Barry Beckett said, I'll tell you what, let's just cut it. And if you don't like the way it feels, we won't even put another vocal on it. We'll just let it go. And they said, okay. And they dropped the key from where we had written it in almost 2 steps, from G all the way down to E. And what you hear on the radio after 2 million airplay is that first take. That was it. And Barry Beckett turned around and looked at me and Dave Gibson and said, I love when I'm right. And Danny Shirley came out of the big room and on me and said, wow, that might be something to take another look at. So, who knows?
Yeah, that song might work out eventually.
Could do something like that. But it's like that. I can't tell you the song. And when I do the research on the song, on the book, I will get it all. But there was a pop song, Michael Jackson or somebody, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was a female artist. And the producer was trying to find one song. He couldn't find it. And was driving through LA and wasn't paying attention and rear-ended somebody. Right. And in the process of getting all of his stuff out of his car before they towed it off, a cassette had slid out from underneath the seat. And I'll find out what that song was, but that's a true story.
Oh, that's interesting.
Song Angels.
That's so cool.
And there's hundreds of stories like that.
That's incredible.
Don Schlitz wadded up a song and threw it in the trash can. It had too many lyrics, too many verses, and his roommate saw it laying in the trash can. So when you see that song in the Hall of Fame right now, you'll see that it had been wadded up. The Gambler.
That was my first album.
Yeah.
And I mean album record,
Right.
on a record player.
Right, but Don thought it was, and Jim Rushing said, I think that song got some merit, so you might want to take a look at that. And throughout the last 30 years that I've been doing this, there's just so many stories like that. And you can't put a finger on it. You can't say, well, it's just luck. Don Schlitz and Paul Overstreet wrote On the Other Hand. And they recorded on a new kid, Randy Traywick, who was a cook at the Nashville Palace, a restaurant here in Nashville. And they changed his name to Randy Travis. And they released for the first single On the Other Hand. It didn't do anything. It was too country, way too country. We had Exile, Kenny Rogers, Lee Greenwood, all those groups out there were really pop. And even the Oak Ridge Boys were going pop back then. So country, the only thing we had was probably George Strait, Little Mo Bandy, Joe Stampley, people like that were still hanging around and doing some country, but the pop sound was really starting to take over, and Randy was totally country. So On the Other Hand didn't do anything. So they released another single on Warner Brothers, nothing. So they released a song called 1982, and it went to #2 on the country radio charts. And they didn't have anything else to re-release, or to release, so they re-released On the Other Hand. And it went #1 for like 3 weeks, and launched Randy Travis's career, and launched Paul Overstreet as a songwriter, launched Don Schlitz as a songwriter. And really, Don had just been a writer at that point, hadn't really dabbled a lot into co-writing, and co-writing was kind of new back then. So many stories like that. And then Snowball's Chance is just those guys that all the odds were stacked up against them. Kenny Chesney, Garth Brooks, Blake Shelton, and they just believed in themselves, and they saw the whole picture. They didn't just see, I'm going to get a record deal and I'm going to get a song on the radio. They saw the tour bus, they saw the sellout crowds. And I know this because they're friends of mine. We talked about this stuff way back then. I'm going to be a superstar was what Kenny would always say. And he's not being vain. He just believed it in his core. So I think that every ability I have, my strength, my brain, whatever, can't hold a candle to an ounce of faith. It's just, you can't put that into measurement. You know, if you have faith in something and you believe in something, you're unstoppable. Even when it doesn't work, that doesn't mean it didn't work. You just have to step back and wait. You know, it's that BB that hits that wall in a dam that you think, wow, what's that going to do? And you wait. You know, faith is the most powerful thing you can have in this business. Faith in yourself, faith in a song, faith that country music is still country music. Country radio is a little different right now, but country music is still country music. And the reason I'm on the road right now as an artist is because of my song Scarecrow. I believe in Scarecrow. I'm not trying to be the next whoever. I'm trying to be myself, which is all I can do. But my purpose with Scarecrow, the first single off the album, is that it has a message. And if there's this one person out there that gets the message in Scarecrow, then I've achieved everything I set out to do with Scarecrow. If it turns out that there's 3 million people that get that message and love it, same thing. But if it's just that one person out there that's supposed to get the message, that's why I'm here. I really believe that. I think that God put me on this walk to go out and do Scarecrow. And there's so many things that are stacked up against me. I'm not very attractive. So
I disagree.
So thank you very much. But you know, I'm traditional. I'm not 22 years old. 27. I admit to that. But Scarecrow has just been amazing, and it just continues to be more amazing. And I'll get these calls from out of nowhere, like somebody heard Scarecrow and they picked it up. And when I do these radio spots and I see all these radio stations in the country playing Scarecrow, I'm like, they don't know me. So the only reason they're playing Scarecrow, in my mind, is because they like it. You know, so I hope it works. But if it doesn't work, it did what it was supposed to do. I know that in my heart of hearts because somebody's supposed to hear Scarecrow, and that's all I'm doing. And I want it to be very successful. I want to go all the way to the top of the charts. But it's not about that. It's about me leaving a footprint someplace and somebody seeing it and picking up on it. So, fun. In Scarecrow, I have a songwriter retreat that you know about called Weekend at Bernie's. And a lot of people get confused about Weekend at Bernie's. They think it's a scheduled thing where we do one in April, we do one in October. It doesn't work like that. Weekend at Bernie's is accessible through my website, BernieNelsonMusic.com. And you go to contact me and you say, I'm interested in Weekend at Bernie's. And I say, well, what do you want to do it? And they say, I can do it August, blah, blah, blah. And if I have it open, then we book it and we do it then. And it's not very complicated. It's not where we sit there with a pen and paper. But it is also a mini workshop because I teach a lot about the music business I teach in my workshops. How to get yourself out of a corner that you painted yourself into lyrically. How to use a small brush when you're painting lyrics versus a big brush. So all that's in the workshop. But on this new album, I'm Blue, there are 6 songs on the album, including Scarecrow, that were written at Weekend at Bernie's by people who have never had a publishing deal. One's a plumber, a master plumber, and one is a sales rep for a big corporation. 2 are dentists, and that came in really handy. Let me tell you about perks, not to mention the plumber. Just different walks of life, and they've all got songs on this record. And last year alone, we had 3 songs put on hold by major artists. I mean, serious holds. And if you don't know what a hold is, that means they really are thinking about recording the songs that were written at Weekend at Bernie's. So, and it's fun. It's a very low key deal. I'm very involved with Special Olympics because my brother's Downs. I work with Troop Aid here in town. I work with Wounded Warrior, and I'm getting ready to do the Songster Bus, which is a big veterans give back too. So I grew up with a military family. My dad was in the military. I always remember going to my grandmother's house, and she had end tables, the fire mantle, and dressers and stuff. And I had 9 uncles. So everywhere you looked were 8 by 10 framed pictures of my uncles in uniform. And there wasn't one of them wasn't in uniform. You know, I mean, it wasn't a question of, are you going to the military? And a lot of it was because there weren't a lot of choices back then. But they didn't get drafted. They just went in the military. They served their country, you know. And I never went in the military. I got a chance to go in and change my mind. And one of my biggest regrets in life, not serving my country. I worked in law enforcement for 7 years, and
You served your country then.
I did a little bit. I got a few scrapes and tore up knees to back that up. But no, I'm really big about supporting the troops because they're gone. If they're not deployed, they're still responsible for being someplace, especially the reservists. You know, they got to train on the weekends, and they get deployed. So, and until you've been around military life and military people, you don't get it. These people, it's everything to them. You know, they can't really move forward until they get out of the military, or they decide which can make a career out of this stuff. So, a lot of sacrifice there. And then, you know, I'm just available for just about anybody that needs something because I just believe in giving back.
That's wonderful. And you do a lot with childhood cancer too.
Yeah. Hospice is one of my big give backs and stuff. And all the cancer, like.
Doug will be here in just a sec.
Making ourselves at home. I hope that's okay.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
P.
Nile, PA.
Yeah.
Was this your drink? I've been drinking out of that.
Anytime.
Live for Tay Foundation.
Yeah. Anytime my phone rings and they want me to come do something, I'm there. So, cancer's a bugger. You know, I lost my dad. I lost my grandfather. So, I didn't lose them. I know where they are. They're not here right now. So, one of my co-writers, Weekend at Bernie's, he has 2 songs on my record, and we've become really good friends. JT Cooper, I'm sorry. And JT was in the Mogadishu firefight in 94 that was now called Black Hawk Down. And the movie shows a bunch of Rangers running out of Mogadishu, but it was actually the 214 Division of the 10th Mountain Army. And they were left behind. They weren't able to hear that they were pulling out. So JT and his buddies had to run a mile. It's called the Mogadishu Mile, which you see in the movie. But before all that happened, they'd all been shot. They'd all been RPG'd. And JT lost his best friend, Jimmy Martin. He was shot in the head and drugged through town. And so last October was the 20th memorial, and I got to go there. And I mentioned that not being in the military was a big regret for me. So on that day, they asked me to be there, and I was, and I got to walk up with a general, a colonel, and my buddy JT. So many of those guys were in Mogadishu, and Haiti, Iraq, Afghanistan. And I met a guy who'd been wounded in all 4 conflicts. You know, and they don't think about, wow, I got shot, now I can get out. They don't think about it.
Introduced us to Zach because we were
Probably the Ballad of Green Beret. True story. Yeah.
Maybe I didn't ask you that question before because I don't remember that answer. That
My
was one
brother
of my
and I,
daddy's.
we got kicked out of parochial school for changing the lyrics in it. And before that happened, though, we would sing it live. It was a big song back then. So. Put silver wings on Mayans' chest. Make him one of America's best. 300 men will test today, but only 3 wear the green beret. I love that song.
I love it too.
There's a song on my last album called Slow Train Home. And it just talks about soldiers who didn't come back from this conflict or that conflict or that conflict. And we mentioned Vietnam in that song. And every time I play it out, boy, you hit a nerve with somebody you didn't even know was there, you know, so good stuff. For those that are trying to be in this business, 2 things, and I think we talked about this. Be original, dig deeper, edit your songs, dig deeper, edit your songs. So just be yourself, and if you think you've got the best truck song, it won't do you any good because by the time you get here, write it, record it. Somebody else already written one just like it. There's thousands of them, and we don't need any more right now. So
Very excited about.
write something like The House That Built Me or something like that, and I think somebody will pay attention to you a lot quicker than one of those run-of-the-mill, I got a great truck, I got a great girl songs. If you're looking for me, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm usually hanging out at the Ace Diner in downtown Dixon, Tennessee. In my front porch up until recently when I'm down this radio run. But in the tangled up web out there, with BernieNelsonMusic.com is my website. Bernie Nelson Music is my Facebook. I'm tweeting at Bernie_Nelson. And Reverb Nation and iTunes is where you find Scarecrow. Rhapsody, Amazon. And the new album Blue will be out in May.
Awesome.